Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, it's World of Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about a massive shift in the meta for World of Tanks Blitz. I mean, this could be huge. You see, Wargaming announced just a few days ago that they are going to be changing a lot of equipment and provisions in the game. And there's really only two changes that really stand out to me personally. And that is the nerf of Gunrammer, going from a 7% DPM increase to a 5%. So you're losing 2% effectiveness on your DPM. That's about a 30% overall nerf to Gunrammer. And then Calibrated Shells is getting a 3% buff on heat shell penetration and AP, which is absolutely huge. Now, heavy tanks already have a lot of pen. And I don't think for the majority of heavies, gaining a little bit of heat or AP pen is going to make a huge difference. But what I can tell you is for mediums, this is going to change the meta. Right now, a vehicle like the E50M is sitting at 330 mils of heat. It's not enough to cut through an E100 turret if it's running enhanced armor. It's not enough to cut through a mouse at most angles if properly, positioned. It's just enough to cut through some heavies' weak spots, but not a lot. And because of that, you're usually going to have to use your mobility to get to the side of vehicles. Where, if you were to compare that to like World of Tanks PC, where mediums have just as much pen as heavies, and they're able to cut through any heavy frontally, well, that's about to be the new norm in Blitz. You see, if we pull up our calculator, we can see what 330 mils of heat pen is going to be with a 3% buff next update. So we do 330, we multiply it by 1.03, and you get 340 millimeters of heat pen. Yeah, you heard that right. So mediums, every single medium with around 330 mils of heat is getting just about 10 millimeters of extra pen on their gold rounds. That is huge. So an E50M next update now has the ability to penetrate an E100 turret. Now has the ability to cut through a Type 71 upper plate, an IS-7 upper plate. Yeah, you can start to understand the implications of these heat pen buffs. A lot of mediums are sitting at this level of pen. The Kampfpanzer 50-ton has 330 mils of heat pen. The Leopard 1 has 330 mils of heat pen. The M60 and M48 Patton both have 330 mils of heat pen. Same, actually no, the 121B I think is a little bit less. Nope, still 330. So all those mediums there are getting massive pen buffs. The 140 is going from 319 to 330, which is still a pretty big buff for a vehicle that obviously struggles a bit with its penetration. And the STB is getting a pen buff for some reason as well. As I said before, AP is also getting a pen buff. So that means that this tank's going to go from about 315 mils of AP to probably about 322, 23 mils of AP on the gold, which means armor is just literally no problem for the STB. If Wargaming doesn't nerf the pen on this vehicle, they are absolutely foolish. Yeah, essentially just the majority of vehicles that would struggle to pen you before, TVP is now going to have 330 mils of heat, are now going to have a much easier time of cutting through your armor. Funny enough, APCR is not getting changed, which means the CS63, the worst medium, is still going to be the worst medium as it's not even getting a pen buff. The car already has good pen, so that's not really going to affect that vehicle too much. 4202 isn't going to change at all, really, because HE is... Actually, I think HE is getting a 2% nerf, so it's getting a little bit worse, but for the most part, it's not going to be a huge change. But you can understand what my point is. Mediums are getting massive pen buffs, and this is obviously the same for all the light tanks as well. The Sheridan fires heat, and the Sheridan already has 340 mils of heat pen, so that means next update, the Sheridan's going to be looking at 350 millimeters of heat. Yes, you heard that right. The Sheridan is going to have more pen than a lot of heavies. What the heck? Vickers Light obviously fires heat. The T100 fires AP Premium. The WZ-132 has pretty bad heat pen. Or no, actually pretty good heat pen. I forgot they buffed it. So because of that, this tank is also going to have insane levels of pen next update. And the Balshot T125 ton is getting a big pen buff. Literally every single tank, when it comes to mobility, is just getting a huge buff for penetration, and it's going to allow mediums to now deal with heavies way easier. See, heavies are getting these buffs as well, but it's not going to be as big of a difference for a heavy. If you look at a vehicle like, for example, an E100, with Cali it already has 367 mils of heat. What are you going to struggle to pen with 367 mils? I mean, yeah, you're going to be upwards of like 380 next update, but is not going to change much. All these heavies are going to do is now penetrate other heavies easier. So VK72 lower plate is now going to be much easier to pen. A mouse upper plate is now going to be much easier to pen. So the more heavily armored you are, the bigger the nerf to your tank, especially when you realize that enhanced armor is also becoming 1% less effective. I already made a video yesterday talking about the Object 268 version 4 and how that vehicle is going to be losing a lot of its capabilities. Well, that's the same case for the mouse. The mouse is going to be losing a lot of its capabilities, especially when you also realize improved assembly is losing 2% of its effectiveness. So it's either you're losing 1% of your armor or you're losing 2% of your HP. Either way, it's a big L. Heavies are just getting flat nerfed next update. Now, certain heavies are getting buffed. The 5A, for example, has needed a heat pen buff forever, and it's going to be sitting upwards of 345 mils of heat next update, which is actually kind of huge. And the Object 260, another vehicle that has really bad heat pen, is going to be upwards of 300 and almost 60 mils next update, which is also huge. So vehicles that really struggled on pen are getting a big buff. Vehicles that already have good pen, it doesn't really matter. And, yeah, the 113, by the way, guys, currently has 380 mils of heat. So if we go get out my trusty calculator again, we can take a look at how much pen the 113 will have. So you do 380 multiplied by 1.03, and the 113 is going to have 394 or 91 mils of heat pen next update. What the heck? Yeah, you heard that right. 60 TP got a pen nerf, and my reasoning, I think Wargaming nerfed the pen on this vehicle is because they were planning on doing this buff a while ago. Because if we add on an additional 10-ish mils of pen for the 60 TP, it means that this vehicle is going to be sitting at around 350-ish 60 mils of pen next update, which is going to be quite nice, and it's actually going to be just as good as it originally was. So, yeah, a lot of vehicles are just getting mega buffed, and it's going to be crazy. The Concept 1B, one of its major downsides was the heat pen. It's going to be 352 mils next update. So, I don't know what else to say. Super heavies are getting mega nerfed. The mobile heavies that previously struggled in pen are getting mega buffed. Once again, just another example on why the E6 is going to be flat better than the Stritzvon K. And don't worry, I did not forget the Smasher. This vehicle has 275 mils of heat currently, which means next update it's going to have around 286 mils of heat. Yeah, you heard that right. 280 mils of pen on a Smasher. Good job, Wargaming. Let's buff the overpowered vehicles. I don't know what to say there. I really don't know what to say. And there's one class of tanks we have forgot to mention, which is tank destroyers. And before we do break into the TDs, there's one other thing that a lot of people are forgetting. Yes, heat is getting a big buff, but you know what's also getting a big buff is AP. And the AP is just as big as heat. So, for example, this is the VK90. It has 200 and just about 90 mils of AP pen. So if we do 289 multiplied by 1.0, not 1.22, 1.03, yeah, the VK90 next update is going to have just shy of 300 mils of AP penetration. Yeah, you heard that right. 300 mils of AP pen. I essentially think that anybody running Rammer is going to be a fool next update because you're getting about a 10 mil buff extra on your AP. So what would be a 13 mil buff is going to be about a 23 pen buff next update for the E100. On AP alone, that is huge. You are missing out so much running Gun Rammer. It's going to be night and day. Personally, I think this change is really bad for the game. And as I said, we got to break into tank destroyers as well. Girl 15 has AP standard and premium with heat. So the heat is going to be around 400 and probably 15-ish mils of pen around there, which is insane. And the AP is going to have around 325, 326 mils of pen. What? Now, the 183 is getting nerfed, at least, so that's good. It's losing a bit of its test penetration, but in return, it's getting more AP pen, so, yeah, it doesn't really matter that much. Vehicles that are really going to get mega buffed here are heat-firing tank destroyers. For example, the Jagdpanzer. Well, the Jag has 314 mils of standard, so this vehicle next update is going to have around 325 mils of premium, or standard pen. And then the premium is 418 currently on the Jagdpanzer E100. This is the highest pen in the game. So if you do 418, you need to multiply that by 1.03. The Jagdpanzer is going to have 430 mils of heat pen next update. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, really, Wargaming is just buffing every single tank. So the Minnow is not going to have nearly as effective armor. The 113, thank God, is not going to have nearly as effective armor. Basically, a lot of tanks are going to be losing their effective armor capabilities next update, where vehicles that don't really have much armor, like mediums and lights, are just going to be gaining pen and being able to cut through heavies much easier. Tank destroyers are going to be gaining pen. This is going to be a huge change for the game. Tank destroyers like the 263, where I previously would be running gun rammer, I'm now going to be running calibrated because I'm going to have upwards of 420 mils of heat pen on these vehicles. It's going to be insane. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about the change of the meta. Basically, heavily armored vehicles are becoming less effective. Mediums are becoming more effective. And tank destroyers, honestly, aren't going to change all that much because they already have enough pen to cut through the majority of armor. But I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.